In this video, we are going to use Open Computers mod in order to automate the Schrabidium production process. Now the method that we are going to focus on primarily is the Schrabidium transmutation device. Now I have covered this in my Schrabidium production video before, but the transmutation device uses a red coil capacitor and power in order to convert uranium into Schrabidium. Now the red coil capacitor only has 10 charges, so once 10 processes are done, it will be completely discharged. In order to charge it up again, you have to manually take it and right click. Well, Open Computers robot does it for you, like you can see on your screen right now. And once it's done, the robot will place the red coil capacitor back into the transmutator, so you can basically fill up an entire crate with uranium, and this process will keep on going until you have power supplied. So if this interests you, then this video is for you. A big shout out to Glitchh for making this entire contraption and making it so compact. So without any further ado, let's get straight into it. Let's get started with phase 1, which is making the structure of the machine. A lot of blocks are required in order to do this, so pause the video if you want to and get every item listed on your screen right here. Now make sure that the solid block that you are choosing is strong enough, because the explosion from the red coil capacitor can break weaker blocks like brass or wood. And one thing that I forgot here was that you need one additional piece of stair aside from all of the items listed on your screen here. So once you have all of the items, start by making a 3x3 foundation on the ground like this. And for this we are going to use the solid block of basically the solid block that you chose. Now on the 3x3 foundation, come out on the front, place down a hopper with a Schrabidium transmutation device on the top, another hopper with a crate going into it. Now this crate that we placed here is going to be our input crate. All of the uranium is going to go in here, which will then end up in the Schrabidium transmutation device, and the output will come out in the bottom hopper. So for the output, place down two conveyor ejectors, one in the front like this and another one coming out the back. So now we have two output for our Schrabidium transmutation device. Next up in the middle, come up by one block and place down an HE to RF converter. And on top of the HE to RF converter, place down a comparator. Now behind it, place down a solid block with redstone dust on top of it. Alright, and finally, in order to complete this, we will need one chest which goes directly next to the hopper like this, which will make a little gap in the middle for our robot. Now touching the HE to RF converter, place down a power converter which is from Open Computers, and touching the power converter, place down a charger. This charger will be used to charge our robot. Next up, we want to access our chest but also place an item on the top. So place down an upside down stair on top of the chest like this. That way you can still access it. And on top of this stair, place down your energy storage block. I am going with Spark energy storage as this requires a lot of power. Next up, connect the Spark energy storage block using cables with the transmutation device and the HE to RF converter in the following manner. So this way the energy converter or the energy storage block will directly power the transmutator, and the converter will power our robot like this. Alright, so now let's get a logistics sorted. In order to get all of the items up, first let's start with the ejector which is on the front. Place down two conveyor belts with two chain lifts or conveyor chain lifts going up like this. Now for the third one, we need to turn this, so turn it around so that the item is going to travel in the direction of the chest. Now in the chest, we need our item to go in, that's why place down a hopper which is going into the chest. So basically this ejector is going to be for a red coil capacitor. And finally in the hopper, place down a conveyor inserter. So this is the path. The red coil capacitor will end up on this conveyor line, go up into the inserter, then into the hopper and in the chest where the robot will be able to access it. So that's the output for the red coil capacitor. Now you can close the top off like this, as we need to run a second conveyor line which is going to be for the uranium, our second output. So place down another chest or another crate basically which is touching the energy storage block, and this will be our storage for all of the uranium that we are going to be producing. For this we are going to use a conveyor chain lift directly. So take your chain lift and start raising it all the way up to the top until you reach like this. Then one conveyor belt going in this direction, turn it around going towards the crate, and finally place down another inserter going into the crate. So now we have both of our outputs sorted. The uranium that will be coming out will go travel up like this into the inserter and will end up in the crate. So our input and output will be in the front side of the machine. Now one thing that I forgot was also make sure to place these two blocks like this. Time to sort out all of our filters on the ejectors. So the ejector which is on the back side is going to take all of our Schrabidium up top into the chest. So place down a Schrabidium and whitelisted. Now for the ejector which is on the front, we want it to take a red coil capacitor. So place another Schrabidium ingot and make sure to blacklist it. So once again, just to make sure that what we did here, as we were a little blind, the ejector on the front will have Schrabidium ingot which is blacklisted, and the ejector on the back will have a Schrabidium ingot which is whitelisted. Alright, so that's all of our filters done. And now you can place any power storage a power source in a storage block and a lever in front of the charger like this. And if you turn this on, the charger will provide power to the robot that we are going to build. Alright, so that brings us to the phase 2, which is constructing the robot. Once again, a lot of items are required in order to do this. Now the first building block of the robot is going to be our electronics assembler. And the electronic assembler will require power if you are doing this in survival. So now it has RF. Next up, let's take a look at all of the parts that you will need. Once again, pause the video if you want to and get all of the parts that are listed here, as this process cannot go wrong. You need to make the robot right. Alright, so that is done, or basically that is all of the items, and you will also need an X. I'm using the Workers Alloy X because it has infinite durability. So in order to start building the robot, place down a tier 2 computer case in the electronics assembler. Once you do that, it will open up the space for placing all of the parts. So first goes our CPU, then the RAM, next up your hard disk drive, the Lua BIOS which goes on the top. Next up, we are going to place a graphics card and the redstone card. And now time for some upgrades. So we need a screen upgrade, a keyboard upgrade so that we can type in a program, and an inventory upgrade. And finally, you also need to place down one disk drive like this so that we can install our Lua in there, or basically our OpenOS in there. This is done. Click on assemble, and as I am in creative, I will get the robot instantly. If you are in survival, this process will take some time. So we got Pixel Toast, which is our robot. Now before placing it, there is one thing that you need to do. This robot is directional, so if I place it like this, the chest will be facing me, the display looking thing will be facing away from me. So we need the display to face the transmutator and the chest to face the charger. So place your robot like this, and there we go. This way the chest which we had on the robot is facing the charger and the display is facing the transmutator. This is the correct orientation for the robot. Now in order to install the OS, what you will need to do is take your OpenOS floppy disk, place it down in the robot like this, and also take your Workers Alloy X and place it in the tool slot. Once this is done, we are ready to boot up our robot. So press the turn on button, and with this, your robot should start. There we go. Now in order to install the OS, simply type install, and once you type install, you need to press enter, and the robot will do everything else on next basically. So we are going to press Y and the installation begins. There we go. So now it will ask you to reboot. Just reboot the robot, and now OpenOS has been installed in it. So you can take the floppy disk out, and as we already had a hard disk in, our OpenOS is in the hard disk, and the robot will now start without the floppy disk. So make sure that you turn on the charger if you are in survival, and then turn on the robot. And now we can basically type in our program. So this is going to be phase 3, which is typing the program in. Now I am not going to say much during this phase, but yeah, you can pause the video if you want to and just type with me, I guess. So yeah, and if you don't have this screen right here, you can basically turn off and turn on the robot. Now I am going to name my program automate. So write edit automate and then press enter. Basically write edit and then the program name that you want to give. So now once you have the blank canvas here, you can start typing in the program. Once again, a big shout out to Glitchh for making this program and making this entire build. I love builds which are so compact and basically so modular. So now that this line that we wrote, if component redstone get input side, this is basically when the red coil capacitor will end up in the chest and the comparator will give an output signal. So if the red coil capacitor is in the chest, then the robot will swing up, basically access the chest. It will take the red coil capacitor, which is the suck up, and the robot will turn right, which is the front side. And we will repeat this 10 times because we have 10 charges on a red coil capacitor. And the robot will place, basically right click the red coil capacitor, and that will charge the capacitor again. So the entire thing that we wrote here was so that we can charge our capacitor. Once that is done, the robot will turn left, basically where the Schrabidium Transmutation device is. It will place the red coil capacitor back inside it, and so robot place up, and it will also place the chest which was on the top. And once again it will select the very first inventory that it had, the internal inventory, and then we want to loop it up again. And yeah, so this is basically 24 lines of code. Press Ctrl S in order to save it, and once that's done, turn off your robot and we are ready to test this entire process. One thing, by the way, make sure to place a solid block in front of the robot like this. I forgot to do this, but yeah, make sure to place a solid block. And in order to demonstrate, I am going to place a red coil capacitor which only has one charge left. So turn on the robot, and once it's on, we can call our function. So in order to call your function, simply write the name of the function. As we wrote automate, we are going to type in automate here, and that will call our program. Sorry, not function, program. Now press 1 uranium ingot. It will be converted and the robot will start doing its thing. So that means this entire program is working perfectly. You can fill up the chest with uranium and it will constantly fill up the other output crate with uranium. So I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, do smash that like button and also subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Peace out my guys. Stay safe.
Nobody gonna bring me down. Invincible.